Okay, one last quick story for today, very, very quickly. I just want to mention again how much danger there seems to be. I said leftists bulldozing America's freedom. I just want to mention some of the things happening. I see these stories, and I'm just going to lump them together into one. But in addition to, as you watch that little montage in the first segment of the show today, all of those news outlets around the country, not just saying the same message, but the exact same words. Don't listen to social media. Don't listen to people questioning the election outcome. Don't listen to people saying anything we don't like. Only listen to us. And it's not just the same message, same exact words. You can overlay them. They're all saying the same thing. This is that manipulated mindset. You will be manipulated. It's one of many forms of the leftist mindset trying to bulldoze or hypnotize the American people. But on the bulldozing and the just shutting down of American freedom, American political conversation, American conversation in general, the social media, in fact, the Silicon Valley leftists are heavily into this, heavily helping. And so you had, for example, just the most amazing story, MailChimp, which is one of those services you can use if you have a big email list. And so you have your email list all into the MailChimp application, and then you send out your weekly email. People have MailChimp for, your garden club, all sorts of reasons that aren't political, but political groups use it too. So MailChimp deplatformed, meaning severed their contract with, refused to allow an entity to use MailChimp anymore. They had their MailChimp set up, they're sending things out. MailChimp deplatformed a local Tea Party, told a Tea Party, you can't use MailChimp anymore. And so, there are alternatives in MailChimp, there are all sorts of other alternatives, but this is big, and it wasn't because they didn't send out bad words, they didn't have pornography, they didn't have violence. They're sending out, I'm sure, they're a Tea Party. They're probably talking about, stand up for fair elections or stand up against COVID tyranny. So MailChimp getting in on the game of censoring the American people, and then GoFundMe, which you mentioned numerous times. GoFundMe, a great platform for people. Often people put their names up there for things like, they've had a tragedy in their family, they've had some other circumstance occur, and it's a way to say to really anybody who wants to donate, hey, I need some help, can you help me? Can you please donate? People create GoFundMe pages for personal tragedies, for missions to try to, feed the starving people or bring fresh water someplace, all sorts of good reasons. But GoFundMe suspended Candace Owens, the one who founded Blexit, suspended Candace Owens because of things she said about George Floyd, which, she's basically, I don't even know what she said, but they're deciding what political messages you're allowed to say. And they decide she can't say that about George Floyd. They also, GoFundMe, removed the campaign to help Kyle Rittenhouse, who was a young man, if you actually watch the video, who was provoked in a violent Antifa Black Lives Matter rally in Kenosha. He was the victim of the violence of Antifa Black Lives Matter mob activity. Kyle Rittenhouse fires his gun in self-defense and killed someone. Now, the political system will review it, and they are reviewing it. They'll decide, the outcome, the legal system will decide, not political. The legal system will decide, should he be charged, whatever else there is to decide, and move forward. But he needs money for his criminal defense, so he sets up a GoFundMe page, which they promptly took down. I'm getting at the point, and it's happening with every single social media platform you could imagine. It's happening with, and the one big one I wanted to mention, so there's a conservative website called The Conservative Treehouse. It's 3 or 4 or 5 years old. I'm not sure how long it's been around. But The Conservative Treehouse is one of the most popular among conservatives. It is it doesn't have flashy, screaming headlines, doesn't have clickbait. It is very substantive, very serious, huge, serious research they do. They've been really big into covering the Russia collusion hoax, covering what actually happened there. They research, they often give links to, what the Senate hearing and what happened that day, or links to pleadings and legal cases. They covered the Lieutenant General Michael Flynn case in great detail. They cover serious cases, serious issues, political issues in America, always very substantive, always very detailed, footnoted, and you can go, and people love Conservative Treehouse for a variety of reasons. One is that if they go in, they'll say, well, you know, in this, today what happened in the Michael Flynn case is XYZ. If you're not familiar with this issue, you can go to this link. I mean, they'll send you back so you can find and understand the issues they're talking about. There's no flashy headlines, there's no poor language, it's not pornographic, it's not violent, it's serious and substantive and well regarded, and really among the thought leaders, people on the conservative side who were trying to expose the Russia collusion hoax while the media kept trying to pretend there really was Trump collusion with the Russians when everybody else had figured when they had figured there wasn't. So Conservative Treehouse just could not be more widely respected. So of all amazing things, WordPress deplatformed then. WordPress is the platform that creates websites, and many people use WordPress to set up a website because it's pretty easy to use. It's user-friendly. You can set up a website with WordPress. You can do whatever things you got. You can change things. You can do a lot of things with WordPress. And so many people use WordPress. I mean, there are many other alternatives, of course, but Conservative Treehouse is a website that's been up for 5 years. As I say, so well regarded, very substantive, very thorough in explaining things. And WordPress just announced to Conservative Treehouse, we're taking you down. No explanation, just you've been deplatformed. They gave them a date, early December, saying, you know, you were taking everything down by then. So they gave them time at least to transfer all of their content, which is voluminous, to some other website and get it up on another website. So it'll still be there. But the point is, even WordPress is getting in on the left-wing suppression effort in this country. I talked a lot today, about to wrap up, but I talked a lot today and the past few weeks about what we're watching happen to this precious, extraordinary country. We are watching the rise of the totalitarian leftist mindset in this country. We're watching it in the way we talked about in the beginning of today's show. We had that little montage put together by James Woods where you can see every major left-wing, allegedly mainstream, but left-wing media outlet is got their talking points. They've been told what to say, and they're supposed to tell everyone, don't listen to alternative media, don't listen to news you learn online, don't listen to anyone but us. They're all lying. We're talking. I mean, just if it could be like Russian propaganda, absolutely intended to hypnotize, mesmerize everyone into going along with what they're saying, and what they're saying is to ignore the truth. But you have this effort, this Marxist effort in this country, which honestly I could never have imagined, even 5 years ago, that we would see in this country, coming to the fore. What used to be the radical communist extreme, crazy on the left, you know, they had some communist group in this country that had, 5 members. Radical communism, Marxism, socialism, leftism have become the mainstream Democrat Party of today. It is the agenda that says you will not listen to other people. It is the agenda that says nobody questions the government. It is the agenda that says you cannot entertain an opinion that is not permissible. You have free speech threatened across the board regularly in this country. You have colleges that will not permit conservative speakers. You have college thought police rules that are supposedly about protecting the feelings of others, but you have repression of free speech on college campuses. You have people being told what you can and cannot say on college campuses on issues of every kind. You have militant groups in this country on college campuses believing it is their right to shut down free speech, any speech not approved by the radical left in this world. Any speech not approved by the radical left, they're saying they can shut down. And they can shut down because they're right, and no other view but the left-wing view is right. So we have free speech crushed on college campuses in the mainstream American political conversation. You have more and more speech limitations. You have, we're just watching the shrinking of freedom in this country sold to you by the American left as caring and compassion, sold to you by the American left of the idea that because to be inclusive, we can't use certain language, we can't engage in certain things. We have the media platforms of all kinds have decided, which includes YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, all of them deciding what can and can't be said. When you have Sidney Powell exposing the actual theft of this most recent election in 2020, the manipulation of voter tabulation software. Sidney Powell is telling the story, and you have most of the social media outlets taking down her story, her explanations as untrue or inconsistent with the standards, community standards for one of the social media platforms. All these things seem isolated. You can say, well, we have free speech problem on campus. We have free speech issues on social media. We have mainstream networks that won't let certain things be said. We have Fauci, who won't let America's doctors be heard, who mocks and belittles them. But all of it, even though it's not a coordinated move, it is the various battlefronts that freedom lovers and patriots in this country are facing. Patriots who believe in the idea of America, the founding idea from our Declaration, our Constitution, the idea of basic human freedom. We are facing attacks on multiple fronts. Whether it's college campuses not permitting speech, whether it's social media shutting down speech, whether it is the government through the form of Fauci shutting down doctors in this country who are trying to explain the great therapies they found. We're watching a repression of freedom in this country. It's not just COVID tyranny, although that is part of it. COVID tyranny is part of it. It's the larger leftist mission that they will tell America what you can think about, what you can think, where you can live, whether you can leave your house, whether you are allowed to go to the store today, whether you're allowed to travel. We are losing freedom in this country, and this is why so many patriots are passionately fighting to defend the true results of the election of 2020, which is, as Sidney Powell has said, Trump won in a landslide. Trump's presence in Washington has truly awakened the fighting spirit of the American people who want their country back and who want freedom back. We're living in extraordinary consequential times in America, and that's why I do my show, to speak about America, to talk about America, to share the stories about America. We have to be willing to fight against every single effort the left engages in to bulldoze freedom, to bulldoze your speech, to bulldoze the idea of America. Our country needs patriots to speak up and stand up at every arena, at every place that the loss of freedom can be challenged, because the left is so determined to destroy this country. As you heard about on yesterday's show, we played the video of the woman who lived in Yugoslavia, and now she's American, and she talked about what happened in her country. Among the things she talked about, we didn't get to, but repression of speech. You can't talk about this anymore. You can't say this anymore. This ugly, repressive, leftist, Marxist, socialist, communist mindset is pressing its way into America, and it's up for patriots. It's up to patriots who love freedom to stand up.